39-year-old mother of three Danielle Baxter is facing criminal charges for killing her husband. 38-year-old SEPTA train engineer Jordan Baxter, who was gunned down at the couple's home in Philadelphia's Roxborough neighborhood. Police discovered Jordan's body on a plastic sheet between two cars in the driveway, with the suspected murder weapon on his chest. He had been shot in the back of the head. Based on blood evidence, investigators believed he was killed in the home and then dragged outside. Danielle was arrested the following day on suspicion of murder and abuse of a corpse. While her alleged motive remains unclear, news outlets reported that she had made cryptic Facebook posts just days before Jordan's death. In one post, she wrote about women supposedly plotting on her marriage. A neighbor told Fox 29 that the Baxters were separated and that Jordan was not living at the home when he was killed. Danielle was denied bail and remains in custody, pending her preliminary hearing, which is scheduled for April 7th. Number 14. Gerhardt Konig. A prominent anesthesiologist is accused of trying to murder his wife along a hiking trail on the Hawaiian island of Oahu. 46-year-old Gerhardt Konig was arrested after the 36-year-old victim told police that he had attacked her for refusing to take a selfie with him. She said that Konig was standing extremely close to the trail's edge and that it made her feel uncomfortable. According to an arrest report, Konig shoved the victim into some bushes, struck her in the head repeatedly with a rock, and smashed her face into the ground while she screamed for help. The victim also claimed that she had seen Konig preparing to inject her with 2 syringes filled with an unknown substance, but that she had managed to take them away. Overhearing the woman's screams, nearby hikers came to her aid and called 911, later telling police that Konig was on top of the victim when they found her. She was taken to the hospital in serious but stable condition, and Konig is currently in jail on an attempted second-degree murder charge with bail set at $5 million. Number 13. The Sindbad Sinking. 6 Russian nationals were killed and 39 survivors from Russia, Norway, Sweden, and India were rescued after a tourist submarine sank in the Egyptian Red Sea. The vessel, run by the excursion company Sindbad, began taking on water for unknown reasons off the Hurghada coast. Passengers were in the process of boarding more than a half-mile from shore when the submarine quickly started to submerge. People could be heard screaming in fear in harrowing footage of the incident, which showed tourists who had been standing on top of the vessel suddenly in ankle-deep water. A survivor told Russian media that the water had poured in through 2 open hatches, while another report claimed that the sub had struck a reef and lost pressure. At least 9 survivors were injured, including 4 who were left in critical condition. Authorities questioned the 5 crew members on duty who were in possession of the proper license and certificates. The investigation into the cause of the sinking is ongoing. Number 12. Maria Kovalchuk. 20-year-old Ukrainian model Maria Kovalchuk was found clinging to life along a roadside in Dubai on March 19th after vanishing 10 days earlier. She had gone missing after attending an adult party at a hotel, and her family had grown extremely concerned for her well-being after she missed a flight to Thailand 2 days after the event. Kovalchuk was covered in blood and suffering from severe injuries when she was found, including a broken spine and limbs. She was unable to talk and faces a lengthy road to recovery after undergoing 4 life-saving operations. The young woman's family believes she was trafficked among a group of men, then discarded along the side of the road after they were done satisfying their carnal needs. There's also speculation that she crossed paths with bad people while attending the previously mentioned party, where wealthy men are known to pay models to fulfill degrading and abusive fetishes. She remains unable to speak, and the highly publicized incident has sparked renewed warnings to young women to avoid these types of events known as porta potty parties. Number 11. Demarqeyun Marquize Cox. On Tuesday, March 25th, a 33-year-old Texas man named Demarqeyun Marquize Cox purposely crashed his mini 4-wheeler into multiple Tesla cars throughout Texarkana, Texas. The unprovoked ramming spree began outside a Chinese restaurant, where Cox drove head-on into the side of a red Tesla, causing an estimated $1,000 worth of damage. He then drove to a nearby Lowe's home improvement store, where he damaged another Tesla. Police soon caught up with the accused hit-and-run quad bike rider, who initially falsely identified himself. Cox was arrested on charges of failure to identify and felony criminal mischief, and additional charges may be forthcoming now that law enforcement has learned about a 3rd damaged Tesla, which was found with the name Elon carved into the side. He was booked into the Bowie County Jail in lieu of a $105,000 bond and no longer appears to be in custody, indicating that he obtained the funding necessary to secure his release. Number 10. Canada Rinaldi. 27-year-old bride-to-be Canada Rinaldi was randomly attacked during her bachelorette trip to Dallas, Texas with her 6 bridesmaids. The group was waiting for an Uber outside a nightclub at around 2 a.m. when a man approached a woman from behind and sucker punched her in the head. hitting her with such force that she fell unconscious and hit her face on the pavement. Dashcam footage captured by a nearby Uber showed one of Rinaldi's friends trying to stop the attacker and also getting punched in the face. The assailant fled the scene and Rinaldi's terrified friends rushed to her aid while waiting for help to arrive. She woke up in an ambulance on the way to the emergency room where she received 8 stitches to the face. Rinaldi also suffered a broken nose, a black eye, a concussion, and lost 3 teeth. She told reporters that the attack not only ruined her vacation but caused her to no longer look forward to her wedding as she deals with mounting medical bills. No arrests have been made and the attack remains under investigation. Number 9. Myanmar Earthquake. Dozens of people are dead and hundreds more are injured after a 7.7 magnitude earthquake struck central Myanmar. Shortly before 1 p.m. on Friday, March 27th, buildings were destroyed and hospitals are so packed with injured survivors that supplies are running out and staff are struggling to accommodate everyone who needs treatment. Some patients have even been relocated to a nearby parking lot. The shaking was felt elsewhere throughout Southeast Asia, including hundreds of miles away in Bangkok, Thailand, where at least 3 people were killed, dozens remain missing, and the skyscraper collapsed to the ground. It may take a while to assess the true extent of the damages, especially in Myanmar, which has been plagued by challenges since the 2021 overthrow of its elected government by military leaders. Nearly 20 million people were already without adequate food or water before the earthquake, prompting the country's leaders to appeal to other nations for help. In the meantime, the death toll is expected to rise as the search for missing people continues. Number 8. Saritha Ramaraju.
Hey, lady, come out over here. Come over here.
Okay.
Come over here. In the cupboard? Yeah.
A California mother is accused of committing the unthinkable crime of killing her own child following a recent 3-day trip to Disneyland. According to law enforcement, 48-year-old Saritha Ramaraju cut her son's throat at the end of the vacation the day before he was due to return to his father's house. Saritha and her ex-husband had been sharing custody of the victim, Yatin Ramaraju, since their divorce in 2018. She called the police and confessed to killing Yatin at the La Quinta hotel room in Santa Ana, and she said she had taken an unknown number of pills. Upon arriving at the scene, officers found Yatin's body on the bed, surrounded by souvenirs from the theme park. They also recovered a recently purchased large kitchen knife. Investigators surmised that the victim had been dead for several hours, indicating that Saritha had waited until he was beyond help to dial 911. Saritha was treated at a nearby hospital and booked into custody, where she remains held without bond on suspicion of murder and personally using a deadly weapon. Number 7. Anaya Zachary. A Texas teenager was reportedly murdered by a classmate at an apartment complex playground in Baytown following an argument with the accused killer on their school bus. According to police, the suspect went home, changed into black clothing, and retrieved a gun and a mask. He then went to the playground and shot the victim, Anaya Zachary, 4 times, killing her and injuring a woman nearby who was holding her child. According to a fellow student, Zachary had never bullied the boy, but they also never got along very well. The victim's godmother, Sonia Stanford, described Zachary as a good student with a sweet personality, good manners, and no history of disciplinary issues. Stanford told local news outlet KPRC2 that she doesn't blame the boy who was facing a murder charge, and that she even wants to forgive him. Instead, she blames the unnamed suspect's parents for failing to keep their gun locked up. In a statement, Baytown Police Chief John Stringer stressed the importance of conflict resolution as a way to prevent the type of deadly violence that the community is now grappling with the consequences of. Number 6. Keimani Latigue.
You told me God got a plan for me, and that's the reason why I keep going through all of this shit, because he keep putting me through the test. When is the test gonna be over, bro? Because if I do something about it, I'm going to jail. I'm the one getting in trouble.
On Monday, March 24th, the murdered body of an Ohio teenager named Keimani Latigue was found in an abandoned and burned out house in Toledo. Her hands had been severed and she was nearly decapitated, and police are blaming her own father, Darnell Jones, for her brutal death. Latigue's family had reported her missing 6 days earlier. In the days leading up to the discovery of her body, Jones had pleaded with the public for help finding his daughter. He claimed he had last seen Latigue in the middle of the night on March 16th, when she called him from her grandmother's house and said she was scared. Latigue was home alone at the time, and Jones claimed he drove to the house due to concerns about a possible attempted break-in. The girl's grandmother arrived home later that night to find the residence in disarray. Latigue was nowhere to be found, and Jones gave police inconsistent statements about what had occurred when he visited the house. He has since been charged with his daughter's murder and is recovering from a gunshot wound after being shot during a SWAT standoff while attempting to evade law enforcement. Number 5. Marketta Phillips. Las Vegas police found the murdered remains of little Josue Ross while responding to an apartment complex during the early morning hours of Wednesday, March 26th. She had been stabbed multiple times and her babysitter quickly landed at the top of the suspect list. Officers were called to the scene by Josue's father, Jeremy Ross, who arrived home from work and noticed that the babysitter, 41-year-old Marketta Phillips, was acting out of it. He discovered his mortally wounded daughter surrounded by knives on her bed and immediately began CPR while calling 911. Despite his efforts, Josue succumbed to her injuries and was pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. Phillips fled the scene on foot before police arrived and was apprehended nearby. Just a week earlier, she had been placed on an involuntary emergency psychiatric hold, yet she was entrusted with Josue's care despite her recent troubling behavior. Jeremy told the Las Vegas Review-Journal that he had had an on-and-off romantic relationship with Phillips, but that he didn't know she was a crazy nutcase. Phillips remains held without bail at the Clark County Detention Center on an open murder charge. Number 4. Latorian Hunt. Better known as Say So P, 27-year-old Tennessee rapper Latorian Hunt was shot to death in downtown Memphis on Saturday, March 22nd. Another victim, 34-year-old rapper Albert Walker Mondane, aka Sauce Walker, was injured in the gunfire, which was described by police as a targeted crime. The broad daylight shooting occurred outside a West Inn hotel shortly before 3 in the afternoon, when the suspects exited a vehicle and opened fire on Hunt and Mondane. Hunt was struck with multiple bullets while Mondane was shot in the thigh. In a post paying his respects to his fallen friend, Mondane mentioned how his childhood home was shot up numerous times throughout his life, and that the violence is nothing new. An arrest warrant has been issued for 21-year-old Jaden Dandridge, who's wanted on 1 count of first-degree murder, 2 counts of attempted first-degree murder, auto theft, and 2 counts of employing a firearm in the commission of a felony. Number 3. Samantha Palma. On March 14th, police were called to the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, where they encountered an unclothed woman covered in someone else's blood. Later identified as Samantha Palma, she was reportedly in the throes of a manic episode and had stabbed the manager in the head with his own pencil when he tried to get her under control. She is also accused of biting the manager and stabbing another victim and was found hiding behind an emergency door by responding members of law enforcement. Footage of Palmer's outburst appears to show her throwing water, breaking a display screen, prancing around the airport and hurling profanities at strangers. While speaking with the woman who called herself the goddess Venus and said that she identified as various Disney princesses, police learned that she had not taken her medication that day. She was taken into custody on a mental health hold and is facing an aggravated assault with a deadly weapon charge. Number 2. Henrry Josue Villatoro Santos. A top-ranking MS-13 leader is in federal custody following his arrest in Prince William County, Virginia, on Thursday, March 27th. 24-year-old Henrry Josue Villatoro Santos was arrested during a raid by FBI agents at his mother's home in Woodbridge, roughly 23 miles outside Washington, D.C. He refused to surrender willingly and was dragged out of the residence by members of the SWAT team, who distracted him using a stun grenade. Federal agents found an arsenal of weapons inside his home, including at least 4 guns, 2 silencers, and ammunition. Villatoro is thought to possibly be the highest-ranking MS-13 member on the East Coast. Prior to his capture, he had been in the U.S. illegally for more than 10 years. Authorities believe he was recruited into the gang during middle school, and his capture is being hailed by U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi as a milestone achievement in her quest to fulfill President Trump's assigned goal of making the country safer. Bondi has vowed to continue pursuing MS-13 members until the gang is completely dismantled and no longer has a notable presence on America's streets. Number 1. James O'Connell. South African test pilot James O'Connell was killed on March 22nd while performing a routine display during an air show in the town of Saldanha. Spectators watched in horror as the nearly 70-year-old military aircraft he was flying suddenly lost altitude and nosedived into the ground, erupting into a cloud of smoke and debris. The crowd could be heard gasping as the accident occurred and were urged to remain calm after the impact. O'Connell's death came as a shock to the global aviation community, where he was well respected among fellow flying experts and enthusiasts. Describing O'Connell as a highly qualified test pilot, airshow commentator, and good friend, Brian Emenis speculated that he wouldn't have tried to do anything he didn't think he could handle, but definitive answers will have to wait for the time being while the cause of the tragedy remains under investigation.